Hey everyone, welcome back to the Critic-Verse. We're continuing with our recap and review for Gen V Season 1 Episode 5, titled Welcome to the Monster Club. Now, before we get to the recap, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to follow along as I continue to review the rest of the first season. To keep updated on all things Critic-Verse, and to help me reach my current goal of 500 subscribers. Now, I hope you've seen the episode. Even though I recap it, it's not a substitute for the source media, and also will contain spoilers. Now, on to the video. Once again, the episode is titled Welcome to the Monster House. Now, the title could be in reference to a bunch of things in the episode. For instance, Dusty's house, which is a notorious party house, which could be a reference to the Gee Whiz house from the comics, where all sorts of debauchery takes place. We get to see what it's like when Sam has a violent episode from his perspective, and a red herring from last week reveals that one of our main characters uses their powers in a terrible way. The episode starts with Andre waking up after a stain from the ceiling hits his face, and Kate on top of him. And if you remember, Marie also woke up in a similar situation with Jordan. Andre lets the audience know that this is Dusty's house, where great parties happen and sort of wild antics happen as well. Like the Gee Whiz house from the comics, where the teen versions of the G-Men live. But it's mostly young boys in the comics, while it's more integrated in the show. Emma is found face up in a pool, still giant. Now, we know from Jordan later that he's missing a couple of days from his memory, so how long has she been giant since the last episode? Then the show makes good use of social media by showing TikToks from last night's party, showing Jordan and Marie making out, and Emma chugging a keg like it's a regular can, putting her size into scale and in perspective. Sam shows up when Marie and Emma are talking, and from their reactions, you can tell that they have no idea who he is. And Marie believes it's because of their social media status that Sam is misreading into the parasocial relationship that he has to them, like people thinking they're closer with celebrities than they actually are because of social media. But Sam doesn't seem surprised that they made them forget. But what doesn't add up is how he went from being trapped under giant Emma to roaming free. Marie's powers are expanded when dialogue reveals she could tell the blood under Sam's nails wasn't his, but also she could tell when Emma was gonna get her next period. And I can't really tell if that's supposed to be cool or not. When Marie meets up with the rest, Emma heads back, but the group reveals they don't remember specific things that have to do with Sam and Luke. For instance, why Andre skipped the big interview that he had with Marie as the Guardians of Godolkin, and why Kate was being interrogated by Tech Knight. Dr. Cardoza is angry about what happened with Sam and his family, and we get to know what the purpose of the woods is. And while Sage Grove was testing V on adults to see whether they can get adults to take it without having to implement it into children, the woods is actually seen to be ran so that the humans in Vought could find weaknesses and ways to control soups. Marie is revealed to have a benefactor, which makes sense because it was revealed in episode 1 when she got into God U that she got a full ride. But it also doesn't make sense because how was Brinks gonna kick her out when this benefactor was powerful enough to keep her out of the woods? Next, Rufus is presented as the cause of their memory wipe, especially since it happened in the last episode with him and Marie. But I'm not exactly sure that he was the one who caused it, and I think this episode proves that. And Rufus runs surprisingly well for someone that just lost their dick. And that just really struck me as weird. Rufus gave them the slip, but it turns out Andre was waiting for him in his room the entire time. Andre is able to put Rufus's room into lockdown, but stupidly enough, he gets close to him, and then he wakes up in a Whataburger. And he got off light, if you're asking me. Emma is embracing her newfound popularity when she finds the shirt she borrowed from the drive-in theater, confirming what Sam told them. Next, we see Sam hallucinates a Muppet Emma that tries to reason with him, but before she can get through to him, the team that was sent to capture him confronts him. But in typical boys fashion, they're instead shown in the style of everyone being Muppets, including Sam. And he just rips through them. As Muppets, instead of blood, they spray this shiny red confetti. And instead of their guns shooting bullets, they're shooting popcorn. And then after they're all dead, the scene switches back to normal with Sam walking among the bodies. Marie is able to find a tracker embedded in her skin by sensing where a blood clot might be in her shoulder. Marie goes to Kate, and they keep showing us shots of Kate with her hands still with the gloves on, because when the reveal happens, it's Kate touching Marie directly without her gloves, showing that Kate was the one that made them forget this whole time. Next, we're shown Dean Shetty is meeting with Kate late at night at her home, and she's clearly manipulating Kate by telling her that her using her powers on her friends is her helping them to move past their traumas that's holding them back. Emma confronts Sam, who is now covered in blood after the Muppet massacre, and Sam alludes to Kate making Luke forget him too, which makes a lot of sense on earlier scenes. Andre, Kate, and Rufus are all shown watching the old Mesmer TV show, a procedural crime show that involved a mind-reading soup that was introduced in season 1 of The Boys. Emma reveals that it was Kate to Marie, saying that she made Luke even forget he had a brother. Again, like I said, adding context to earlier scenes from episode 1. Andre attacks Rufus, and I gotta say, this episode with Andre being on the attack, he's been more precise with his powers than we've seen in previous episodes. And in the final scene, Kate confirms it was her restoring all of Andre's taken memories, but he walks out on her after calling her a monster. End of episode. Wow, this show really doesn't disappoint and has really dialed up the craziness of The Boys up to an 11. A couple of things I wanted to talk about for this episode. As of episode 5, this is the shortest episode in the season to date, with the runtime being 35 minutes plus credits. Now, like I said before, Dusty's house feels like it's referencing the Gee Whiz team's house from the comics, where the younger heroes of the G-Men multi-team reside. And Dusty as a character seems to be in reference to the dude with no name, a character that can't leave the house due to his crippling injuries from a prank gone wrong. But Dusty instead has more of a Peter Pan-esque power, which means he'll look like 12 and he's actually 28. So he stays there out of his own choice. Something I've noticed about Jordan is that the character tends to wear gender-neutral clothing, making it something that they can appear in normally for either of their forms when they switch. And it's really cool how the pool scene with giant Emma was shot, as they made a miniature version of the pool for the actress to lay in like a bathtub, and then blue screened everything else in to make her look big. When Marie meets Sam, she's able to tell that the blood on him is not his own, but why isn't she able to sense her own blood? Because if you remember in last week's episode, she got him with the blood lasso. Maybe he washed it off since then, but if she could sense the blood on her fingernails, she should be able to sense herself. Uh, Buster Beaver is mentioned by Emma, and if you don't remember, Buster Beaver is introduced in The Boys as a fictional version of Chuck E. Cheese, and the Black Noir character, who, like Sam, sees fictional characters in his head, hallucinated them all last season. Marie believes Sam is a fanboy who has a delusional parasocial relationship with them due to seeing them on TikTok. And it's funny because Sam says TikTok in a certain way like he's never heard of it, being the fact that he's been institutionalized most of his life. The group recounts that most of their memories since the Golden Boy incident and relating to Sam and Luke have been wiped. But now we know Kate did it, so why would she leave a breadcrumb like that? And then we also get to find out the Woods project has to be run by the humans in Vought, given that Homelander is the one that truly runs Vought now, and Ashley is just his puppet. Because no way he'd be behind a virus that lets them control soups. Andre confronting Rufus, the first time at least, while cool seeing him put the room into lockdown mode with just his powers, it was so insanely stupid to confront him without some kind of way to counteract his pheromones. Because we just knew that he was just going to get mind wiped again if he got close. And he's lucky the only thing Rufus did was send him to Whataburger, because Rufus could have definitely put him off in a very worse situation. And speaking of Rufus, like I said, someone like him who just lost a major appendage shouldn't be able to be moving that well up and about. Like, just fine. And I originally thought the school rankings were only for the crime fighting students, since they are more viewed as like the athletes of the school. But Emma cracks the top 100 after debuting her Giants form, demonstrating that it's really just a popularity contest. The Muppets Massacre was hands down the best scene of the episode, probably the series so far. Sam telling Emma Kate made Luke forget him adds context to earlier scenes. Like when Luke told Marie that his brother died when he was younger, I thought he was just lying, like Marie was lying about her parents still being alive. But that was probably all Kate let him remember. And when he could only see Sam in his head as a way younger version than the one that he actually did, that one that we actually see, is probably all that Kate let him remember. The R.A. Maverick, who has the same appeal for voyeurism like his dad, translucent, but he just labels it as his kink to show how the younger generation has a more warped view on sexuality. And then the show Mesmer that was introduced in The Boys is watched by a couple of the characters, further connecting the universes, being that it's a character that they have used before in the other show. When Kate is returning Andre's memory, I think it would have been great if they had showed when/how Kate erased their memories from the point where Emma was holding down Sam to waking up at the party, to show the connective tissue between episodes, because it still feels a little disjointed, at least to me. But anyway, what's the gang gonna do next? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for joining me in the Critic-Verse, and I'll see you next time.